Hello and welcome to another Shadowverse video. So back to some rotation, kicking it off with a pretty straightforward Heal Haven style deck, using of course Elena, Grind Knight, some nice Holy Lord and some Shiva plays as our big kind of hitters here, and the Elena being of course the key for the healing amulets and getting extra value out of all our cards. So really just trying to run the opponent down and try and ping them off with things like Grand Knight's effect by setting up a lot of nice wards. So let's get right into this and check it out. Okay, HavenCraft, Gyoko, straightforward. Going second, the deck actually doesn't do too bad going second since the Evo is a decent priority, especially if you have Elena. You can use that to your advantage pretty easily in this deck. Didn't get the greatest hand. I mean, Hollowed Cave Shrine is okay as a turn 3 play if we just want to start building a board up, especially against Rune. Your real struggle will be just being able to maintain a board, especially against something like Rune, as they are big hitters these days with their mass board swarm at around turn 5 to turn 7 range, typically. So you do have to get a little lucky in that sense. I do go for the double Golden Bell setup, mainly just looking to draw as many cards as possible, because I want as much utility as I can against HavenCraft, as that's going to be the biggest problem. We also need to start dumping as many cards as possible, because when we do start drawing all of these, we need to have the space to not just keep burning cards. Fortunately, without Evo, they're not too threatening yet. We can easily sack one of these if we wanted, but going for the Holy Marksman felt a little bit better here, getting the Evo out early and wiping the board really quickly. Plus I get to keep up the 1-2, and I get another one at the start of next turn, I believe, so we should be reasonably fine. It looks like we're forcing them to expend some resources here, which is definitely a good sign. And we're pretty free to just drop the Elena. Build our board up, why not? It's actually a really good start because we've actually got an amazing hand to work with. Not much in the way of removal in this deck though, that's really a sticking point. So you can get locked out pretty easily if you're not careful. But for the most part, you should be able to make up that ground with the absurdity of damage that you can deal. So they managed to beat over the Elena, which is fine. As long as we get to keep up these 1-2s, I can be pretty happy. Unfortunately, we lost one there. But that's okay. Wilbert gets to come down. He's going to get us all our value now. And with a light Evo, we could even take out the 3-4, but I decided to hold on to it as I want to keep it for the kill because I want to deal with the founder play here, which was pretty predictable at this point that it was going to be dropped sooner rather than later. So I'm definitely glad I saved the Evo for the kill. And that should nearly mop up most of the board here. I mean, it's going to be rough, but at least we can do something. So we can mop most of this up now. Like I said though, not quite enough to go for a full board wipe, but enough to wipe out the majority, which is good. Well, I can actually take out a full board, I of course need to attack. Plus we are now fully protected, excluding of course destruction effects and ramming into them, but spell effect wise, that works really well when you clear out a board against Rune, because it does force them to have to play another founder as their only really good answer. Fortunately, they did have that answer, so now we've got to come up with our next strategy to deal some damage. At least we are getting damage in every single time they have to hit these wards, so I can't say it's too bad overall. But the fact that they've had pretty much everything they could possibly want on curve is fairly amazing. So all I can really do now is focus on my own healing, develop my own board and take out what I can, since I didn't have any wards up and don't really want to play the Zoes yet. At least on the bright side, we've kept our health nice and high. So they're not going to easily just OTK us in the one turn here, so we shouldn't need to worry too much. But another founder, so all 3 founders pretty much in their opening. That's amazing. So now we've just got to beat through this, which we're not looking to be in that bad of a position to do so. We probably risk taking a good amount of damage now though, but at least the Holy Lord pull off the top there is definitely going to help us out. We can take out 3 cards. Even though it's just 3, that's still better than nothing. And if I can maintain my ward up here, when they attack into it, we'll at least get some damage. Caddy Sorceress, that was definitely a dangerous card. I'm kind of glad that I don't have to deal with that. But with only 5 health left and having to deal with this board, we definitely need to find a nice way around it. Matron is a good option with an Elena, just as backup. Since we will get the buff, plus the extra heal, should keep us out of range of another caddy. And now they are forced to draw. And that's going to be game. Not enough to take out either of my followers. And pretty easy for us to just win. So going with a little bit of BM here, seeing what we can top deck off these Zoes since we've got the option to do so. Calm Feather, and a Robo Goblin. That's alright. So a bit close, down to the wire there, but we beat over 3 Founders in succession, which is pretty impressive. Beating 3 Founders is definitely not something you will do every day. I think we have a double rune matchup by the looks of what I've picked up here. Unless I've completely picked the wrong one here for you guys, but it looks about right. I believe we started with 2 Zoe last time, yeah, and we had different trade outs, so it's definitely a different match. Rune is just so popular at the moment, I'm actually going to be surprised if it doesn't see some form of nerf coming up with the next set of nerfs. Because it just dominates both the rotation and the unlimited meta way too heavily. It's not unbeatable, but it's a cheap powerhouse deck. So if you are looking to climb, definitely play Rune at the moment. And as far as counter decks go, they are quite expensive. Since they do have to run quite a few more legendaries than Rune needs to really go off. This is a really interesting Rune deck though. Not your standard Fanfare, which is nice to see. I like to see something a bit different come from Rune sometimes. So we're looking at a very early game here so far. The Calm Featherfloak isn't actually a bad play on turn 4 here, since I had a spare player point anyway. And since we have the Serena in our hand, we can always use that to pocket off if we need to. We are going to probably lose both of these fairly easily. At least we could set the Elena up next turn if we want to. Again, it's not a bad option for us. We do have the repair mode as well. So if we are looking to gain some health off it, we could do that. And this 4-2 isn't really going to do them anything, since last word won't trigger. And we get our 6-3. So it keeps us just out of range of the 2-1. Not enough to stay out of range of Apex Elemental, but I mean, at least they couldn't just ram the 2-1 in for free. Natarin Great Tree, Mysterian Wisdom, definitely a full-on Natarin Rune deck. It's definitely a competent deck, I just wouldn't think it's as good as Founder decks in my opinion. Grand Knight, of course, turn 6 play, don't even need an Evo going up against this here. Anytime they hit now, we can at least take advantage of it. And once they decide to actually wipe it out, then we get, of course, the wards at the start of next turn, so we don't really lose any value by playing that turn. And now we just need a decent play, and this actually isn't too bad. Going for its Evo effect, I can at least get the proc off, which gives us another follower, gives us a heal, boosts our board, and we can beat over the 2-1 no problem, and if we want we can go double repair mode for even further increases, keeping them out of range of potential board clears. Definitely was the right choice in my opinion, and should do wonders for us in the long run. Viridian Magna though, coming in clutch here, this should be pretty interesting. They're going to take out at least both the wards, although they are going to take 4 damage for it. And having to end on that really isn't going to be a huge advantage, since we do just win the game off these if we can boost up a little bit. Which we should easily be able to pull off here. Guardian plus repair mode will give us the 10 damage we need. And they obviously realized that and had conceded. So this deck was definitely just something fun for me to play for a bit. It does okay, it's definitely reasonable. You can probably get away with upping a couple of the legendary counts here, either adding a more Holy, more Shiva, or more Seren pretty easily. But the core of the deck, the healing engine, does work pretty well. You will suffer against something like Blood that can beat you down too quickly if you can't ward up immediately in the opening game. And Sword if they decide to go for a lockdown board, since you don't really have any RNG removal other than Holy Marksman, which is a little awkward to actually use for that. So It's overall not a bad deck, does its job, a little bit expensive as far as legendaries go, but it does what it's meant to do, and that's a good thing, and has at least a fair game against Rune, which is all you can really ask of a deck in the current landscape of Shadowverse. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and until next time guys, see ya.